It is time for StreetWise with former Chief of the New York City Sheriff's Department, former Chief of the Seagate Police Department, retired New York City Detective, Time Warner Public Access Media Award, Joe Franklin Super Excellence in Broadcasting Memory Lane Award, New York Veteran Police Association StreetWise Productions, host of StreetWise, Mr. Lou Telano.
Good evening and welcome back to StreetWise. No, I'm happy to be here. It's kind of new environment for me at the Strong Island TV at the Paradise Studios, and I'm so familiar with being with radio, which, by the way, I still am. I guess this is radio as well. I hope you were listening to my show this past Saturday. My guest, and I'm going to thank him right here, the Nassau County Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder. Gentleman, good guy. That was just past Saturday, August the 3rd at 4 p.m. on WGBB, 1240 AM radio. By the way, folks, since I'm talking about it, my guest next week on StreetWise on WGBB, 1240 AM radio. It's also multicast. It's also 95.9 FM as well. Online, it's AM 1240, WGBB.com. I'm giving that a plug, even though I'm here at this great Strong Island studio doing my shtick over here. My guest next Saturday over there, August 3rd, will be Howie Carr from Newsmax. Very popular guy, and he's got a great show pretty much almost every evening. So he's my guest on the 3rd at 4 p.m., it's a Saturday, by the way, folks. Howie Carr. I want to touch on it. So many things that I want to touch on, but aside from thanking Police Commissioner Pat Ryder, all these incidents where the cops in New York City are actually being assaulted, even though there's water thrown at them. It's really assault. It's assault on a police officer. And I had to ask him, you being a police commissioner out here in Nassau County, what's your thoughts on police officers being dumped on with water? A great answer. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. It will not happen here. Okay? Or it would happen here, but I think what he was saying is the response would be quite different. So I guess we can go back and forth because of that issue. I've got so many calls from different people. Lou, what would you have done? What would I have done? What I would have done is what every police officer way back when I was a cop would have done, Everybody involved would have definitely got locked up. There's no two ways about it. You wouldn't walk away. It's really embarrassing to see police officers walking away and two female police officers actually running away. Unheard of in my time. But I can understand with today's environment, with Mayor Bill de Blasio's actually ran on a rhetoric of an anti-police campaign by telling his son, his wife is African-American, and he said, you have to be an African-American, you have to be careful, about the police. So, so that's a message out there, but not a good message. So, and this is why the cops are at a funeral for two police officers that were assassinated not too far from the time he made that statement. Several months later, they turned their back on him. And they're still turning their back on Mayor Bill de Blasio. But the cops are also angry at Police Commissioner O'Neill. But again, it's politics. The mayor is his boss. And again, what can I tell you? But obviously, in my time, we would have reacted. People would have got locked up. Today, they're afraid if they incite a riot, the cops would be held accountable for probably inciting a riot. So, not a good thing. Of course, next time, it may be like people said. It may be a brick. It may be acid. It may be lye. You have to nip it in the bud. You just cannot let it happen. So I'm glad arrests were made. Okay, but still, it sort of set a little precedent, and we got a long way to go this summer. What's going on out in the street? I want to touch on the Mueller hearings. Congressional Mueller hearings that we watch. Robert Mueller, special prosecutor, that 448 pages of transcripts, 2.5 years of work, millions of dollars it cost, and when he was at the hearings in Congress, he was like a babbling or non-babbling. He was lost in the wilderness. It was very embarrassing. It's like the poor guy got old overnight. He didn't know where he was. He didn't have the right answers, or he had wrong answers, or he had no answers. So that was a shame. It just talk about embarrassing things. He should be embarrassed. He was the special prosecutor. The Democrats, congressional Democrats, were hoping that they could see some sort of collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians, and that never happened. But they're still going to continue going on with this crap of impeachment. There are so many. Are they going to continue this impeachment thing till 2/20 up until the election? There are so many issues and so many concerns. The immigration, the border. We could keep talking about what's going on. What about the homeless situation? What's interesting? The congressmen or women, because you got to be careful today, Congress people, what you say. You can't use the word man or woman. They want to change the manhole covers. I don't know if you heard that, because it says man. They want to give it some, some kind of name, steel drums or something, or steel covers. Anyway, the Democrats were pretty much unhappy. But you know what I was hoping? I was hoping that they would find Russian collusion, folks. Yeah, with the Democrats, with Hillary Clinton. And there is Russian collusion. Do you know that Bill Clinton lectured 13 times in Russia and got paid almost $1 million, $750,000? He met with the Russians 13 times, right? How many times did Donald Trump meet with the Russians? 3 times, right? He got paid to lecture there. Now, you want to talk about collusion? And his wife, Hillary, she negotiated as Secretary of State. She negotiated to give Vladimir Putin 20% of our uranium. And what's uranium for? Atomic energy, atomic bomb. So I was hoping they'd come up with that. I was hoping Mueller would come up with that. If you want to talk about Russian collusion and interference, you got a big connection there. Trump didn't get paid almost $1 million from Russia. Trump did not give Vladimir Putin, the Russians, 20% of our uranium. I was hoping that would surface, but I didn't think it would, truthfully, because the Democrats were not looking for that. They were looking for something, to sock it to Donald Trump, and they couldn't find it. Why couldn't they find it? Because it's not there. So I'm worried about them being creative, and they can, So, and they have the support of CNN, MSNBC, and other news media outlets. But they're going to continue, and I don't know why they're going to continue. I guess they have to. It's sad. You got 20 Democratic candidates. Most of them are already in Congress or mayors like Mayor de Blasio, and their platform is anti-Donald Trump? How about anti-homelessness? How about anti-crime? How about anti-illegal aliens? You know, anti-Donald Trump. Now, America is waking up. There's so many Democrats. By the way, folks, I'm an ex-Democrat. I was a registered Democrat. I'm going to give my age away for half a century, and I am not a Republican. I'm an independent. I have no problem saying that because I'm in the. I guess you could say I'm in the middle, but I'm an independent. But I'll choose who I feel the best, who I think is the best candidate for that particular office. Obviously, just from my organization being the first law enforcement organization to endorse Donald Trump, July 4th, 2015, New York Veteran Police Association. And, and why? Because I know the rhetoric. You could write a script when these people are running for office. It's pretty much the same. They regurgitate taxes, the environment, unemployment. These are important issues, but the difference is they just say it. Donald Trump is doing it. That's the difference, and people see that. So what am I saying? I'm saying he's the best guy, and I predicted this 6 months ago. Actually, more than that, I said that Donald Trump is going to win by a landslide, and he will win by a landslide. And I did say a year ago on Twitter, you can check it out, that the greatest show on earth is on the way, and that would be the Democratic presidential primary. I said, sit back. I'm the first one to say, get your popcorn. Now other people say that now. Get your popcorn, sit down, put your feet up on whatever you want to put your feet and sit back and watch the fun. It is like a circus. But you know what they're all going to say. Wouldn't it shock you if every Democratic, if one, let me put it this way, if one Democratic candidate that's running for the presidency would not mention Donald Trump's name? Wouldn't that shock you? Wouldn't it shock you if they talked about the terrible homelessness conditions that we have here in L.A., San Francisco, and now we've always had here in New York, but now it's getting worse. So, isn't that more important to take care of American homeless people? If you go to San Francisco, you know how sad it is. It's so sad that women and children, American women and children, are living in the streets. This is America. It's hard to believe. It is. It's L.A., San Francisco. You see it in New York. I'm from experience. The reasons why there are people sleeping in the streets, especially when they have homeless shelters open to them, is because they're not safe in a homeless shelter. You know what's in the homeless shelters? The criminals, people on parole, crazy people. They prey and they actually rape people in the homeless shelters. And they got peace officers. They got officers working for, I think, the Department of Welfare Special. They are peace officers, and they are told not to make arrests. And they can make arrests there because the people are dealing in drugs, they're assaulting people, they're robbing people, they're even raping people. Going back a moment about the people living in the streets, they're actually forming tents. They're living in tents. It's like a tent city. They're building tents, and families are living in tents, and it seems to be acceptable. Another interesting thing is, what the areas, the city or states that have the highest crime and the highest homelessness is run by Democrats. Every single city and every state that has all these different issues of concern are run by Democrats. De Blasio, he promises to do to America what he's doing to New York. Could you imagine that? You know, you can urinate in the street now. It's not a crime. Police officers cannot arrest you for doing that. You can defecate. You can do anything in the street in New York. There's so many different things, and some people debate me on this. I say, Bill de Blasio actually believes he's doing a good job. He thinks in his mind he's doing a good job in this city. Speaking of tents, they are building, I say they, people who are homeless or maybe not homeless, they actually put hammocks in the subways. You know the armrests that you hang on to? They got stretched out hammocks and they're sleeping in hammocks in the subway system. So is that what Bill de Blasio is going to do? He's going to increase homelessness throughout the country and increase crime. You don't have to be a genius to know that when Bill de Blasio initiated this administrative order to the police department stopping the stop and frisk in question, every week now, there are shootings all over the place. The sad part is young children are being shot. Innocent bystanders are being shot. And he wants to run for president. It's mind-boggling. I think they think that we are stupid, folks. What else could it be? And you know something? They have a good point there because we elected him twice. We put in Andy Cuomo, who's no bargain also, twice. But so maybe that's what they're basing, their intel on that. But if we're going to find Russian collusion, it's there with the Clintons, folks, who gave them the uranium, who got paid to do lectures there. Definitely not Donald Trump or anyone connected to him. I'm going to open the phones, 516-945-9099, 516-945-9099, and this is Lou Telano. So if you want to make a statement or ask me a question, I'd be glad to. I want to touch on the so-called freshman new Congress people that we have in Congress. They call the squad. It's, again, people think, and we are, because we put them in office. I'm gonna dissect each one of these women that I'm talking about. Yeah, they're females, and they start off. There's four of them. They start off by saying, together, collectively, we are women of color. You're a congresswoman. So what does that say? We're women of color? You're talking to people in the United States of America? What does that mean? We are women of color. Right there, that shows a divide. What does it show? It shows, why do we have to? What's the point? What's the point of saying that we are women of color? And they are Congress people, and we've had Congress people for years, for all different backgrounds. But I got to tell you this: I believe I'm instrumental because I put it all over the place and I ask these different questions. In Congress we had the Congressional Black Caucus, and I got a call on my radio show a couple of years ago, and they had mentioned, we should check with the Congressional Black Caucus. And I said, something? So why don't we fair? Let's be fair about this, and let's check with the Congressional White Caucus. What White Caucus? There could never be a congressional. I'm against both of them, by the way. I could not see a Congressional White Caucus. That's ridiculous. But yet we had a Congressional Black Caucus. How do you do that in Congress? It's mind-boggling. But if you notice, because I put that all over the place, I say it on my radio show quite often. I put that on Twitter. If you said we are Congressional Asian, Hispanic caucus. Truthfully, I think you can get away with today if you say we're Congressional Muslim Caucus. I think you can, based on what I'm going to touch on now with these 4 congressional freshmen. Can I say freshmen? I don't know what to say anymore. We don't know what to say anymore. I know a good friend of mine who was familiar with Strong Island TV, owns a gym, BCBA Boxing Academy out here in Suffolk County. And when he opened up his new gym, one of his signs, one of his advertisements, he said, "We train boys into men." Do you remember what happened with BCA Boxing Academy? They demonstrated outside his gym. And by the way, I was interviewed on that because my organization, New York Veteran Police, we support Ray and what he does, the good work that he does out there. BCBA Boxing Academy, that's Ray Bettinelli. He takes the kids come off the street, and he helps them get off the street. And there are families that cannot afford to pay Ray, and he lets it slide. Luckily he has another business. Otherwise, he could not survive. I was there the other day, and I was watching him train all these kids. All different nationalities, by the way, all different religions, and young girls as well. He's out there punching and showing them defense, boxing. He's teaching them boxing there. But what happened with Ray is that they said he had no right. How dare you say you train boys into men? You have no right to train. They told him this. You have no right to say you. And he was talking to them, and he says, "This is what we do." Years ago, I remember joining the Marines, become a man. That was one of the advertisements for the military. But poor Ray, they beat him up. They demonstrated outside of his place. So when they were allowed in this place, they saw a poster, or I gave Ray some sort of a citation, and for his great work and the kids. And then they realized that I talk about his gym and I promote him because of the work he does. They put in Newsday, Lou Telano StreetWise on WGGB. Does he teach hatred like BCA Boxing Academy? So you know what I did. I just did the opposite. I said the same thing. They said to Ray, "How dare you say that?" And he said, "Well, what about my son? Your son, when he gets a certain age, he can choose what he wants to be. You cannot tell him that he should become a man." I don't know. I'm getting. It's just annoying. They keep adding letters, LGBTQ. If this keeps up, then we're going to run out of the alphabet. It's just amazing how they're creating all these different, I'm going to say this, Frankensteins, because every time there's a new thing, I know there's going to be half camel and half human being. I don't know, but anyway, I got into that. But I really wanted to, how did I jump over there? I want to talk about these 4 freshmen that I had mentioned. I'll mention them one at a time and talk about them. They're nicknamed the Squad. They are freshman new Congresswomen. I think they're racist. I think they were fraud. They were phony. And I'm going to sound like Donald Trump, and they're fake. But I don't mind sounding like Donald Trump. I also believe they're racist, definitely anti-Semitic, definitely by the speeches. They don't have a problem saying it. They're anti-American and they're anti-white. Yeah, I'm going to say that. They are anti-white. We are women of color. We're all people, So those are messages by these 4 women. I'm going to start with Ilhan Omar, a new freshman Democrat, a Muslim. That's her background. She is from Somalia, Mogadishu, if I'm pronouncing it right, from Somalia, and she is a congresswoman, definitely a Muslim. She says she's pro-Palestine, anti-Israel. Did you ever hear of anti-Israel in Congress? Our strongest and biggest ally, England, of course, too, but that part of the world, right, where they're definitely anti-American, those right next door to Israel, they burn the next town, they burn the American flag, step on the American flag, and the same people that do that want to come here in this country, So it just gets you aggravated. So Ilhan Omar, I don't know why she's still in Congress, even though it's her first term. She has no problem saying she's a Muslim, and there's nothing wrong with saying you're a Muslim, but she's a radical Muslim. No two ways about it. Why is she here? Why is she still here? This is the congresswoman that married her brother. She married her brother so he could become a citizen. Google it, folks. Check it out. Go to Freedom of Information. She married her brother so he could become American citizen. It hit the newspapers because, you're not going to believe this, she was thinking of marrying her uncle. Yeah, hey, Lou, you're kidding around, you're joking around. No, but that was in the works. That was in the works. She was married 4 times. I would be interesting to find out who they are, the other husbands, but she did definitely definitely married her brother. Listen to this. So that's bigamy right there. She's been arrested, folks. Yes, arrested for tax fraud, shoplifting, and trespassing. Her mugshot is all over the place. So, yet she's a congresswoman. She is part of what they call the squad. 2 things in regard to Ilhan Omar. By the way, folks, something that I ran for Congress and I ran against Anthony Weiner years back, and I was pretty much in the business, in the political business, but I did give it a shot and I did run. By the way, I did pretty good. I got 28,000 votes, and that was interesting for someone that's never been that deep into politics. She is a naturalized United States citizen. I hate to say this, and I'm a little embarrassed. I didn't know you could run for Congress if you were not born in this country. And you're here a short time. It's news to me, and it's news to a lot of other people. So she's a naturalized United States citizen. She already violated the oath of naturalization to become a citizen. She could be, by the way, she could be deported based on that. She can be. That's the law. She can be deported. Also, she violated her oath as a congressperson for committing all these crimes. So what can happen to her? She can get suspended, she can resign, or she can be impeached. None of the above is going to happen, folks. None of these things are going to happen. She's our congressperson. She is a voice. She is a lawmaker. You imagine that? Someone that's broken the law so many times is a lawmaker. Where the hell are we heading? I guess we are stupid, Tax fraud. She fooled around with some monies that you can use to go to college for education, some kind of federal money that she wasn't entitled to. She's a shoplifter. The bigamy charges there, and if you go try to find out who her other 3 husbands are, hey, you might find out one of them might be her grandfather. So who knows? So now, that's Congresswoman number 1, who's part of the squad. Congresswoman number 2, right? Ayanna Presley. She changed her name, by the way. So I just can't believe how people can change their names, like Bill de Blasio and Barack Hussein Obama. I recall a friend of mine took a test for the New York City Department of Sanitation. He had changed his name because he thought he was going to be an actor, so he picked a movie name. and he changed his name. He was questioned on that. He had to go for a hearing on that. Why did you change your name? You could change your name and become a congressperson and president of the United States of America. Isn't that, to me, it's questionable. You know, a civil service job would question you and ask you, why did you change your name? Okay, we're talking about different, I don't know if it's the right analogy, but I think it is. So you got Ayanna Presley. She's from Boston, Massachusetts. She's a congresswoman there, and she submitted. By the way, she's one of the four in this squad. She submitted a bill to abolish the death penalty. You know, abolish the death penalty, and the people on death row. She submitted another bill. They should be resentenced. You know who some of these people are? There is a child killer sitting in death row. Does she want to let him live his life out there? Anyway, she wants to abolish the death penalty because in her mind are the only ones, I guess, in her area. There is one Caucasian guy sitting in death row there too, but the majority are, I'm going to use their term, people of color. She's not looking at the crime, child killer. How do you sit on death row? And so she wants to change. She wants to change that law, and she wants to eliminate the death penalty anyway. So somebody sitting on death row, where in Boston, Massachusetts, she wants to. You know, usually when you start a law, you know, it starts at the time the legislation is passed. She wants to go back. People are sitting on death row, including that child killer, resentenced. You know, the children are not walking around alive. This guy's sitting in there, and he's got people like her, you know. By the way, she is the one at the hearing that called Donald Trump a mother effer. Do you remember that? And she said it. I'm saying effer. She said it. This is a congresswoman? And she laughed when some journalist questioned her on the one of these TV programs. She says, "Well, you know, if you come where I come from, it's common. It's not common to be a congresswoman and use that kind of language, and you're talking about the president of the United States of America. You can be impeached. That's your violation of congressional ethics as well." There still are Congress people, those two. 516-945-9099. This is Lou Telano. I got to talk about the number 3 of the squad, Rashida Tlaib. She's from Michigan. She's the one that was saying America has to boycott Israel. What does boycott Israel mean? Somebody explain to me, what does boycott Israel mean? You know, why Israel? How about Iran, where Barack Obama gave billions in dollars of cash to, and they're building the most sophisticated weapons now. Wouldn't it be sad if they attack us with the monies that Barack Obama gave them so they could build these super H bombs and A bombs? Wouldn't it be sad if they attacked us, which recently they have with a drone, you know? And they have a whole history of killing Americans. 200 Marines in one shot. The USS Coles, the ship they put a bomb in, they held our prisoners. We could, you know, and for quite a while. And then when Ronald Reagan came president, they released them because, like Donald Trump, he wasn't going to take no crap, and they know it. So these people, I'm not going to say these people, you could use whatever you think in their mind. I'm saying these people, they only understand strength because niceness is a weakness, like Barack Obama. So what about her? Okay, she's the one that called Donald Trump. By the way, her birthplace is questionable. We're not sure. How could you not be sure? She's a congresswoman. How could we not be sure she's admitted Arab? She changed the name also, by the way, folks. You know, how do you get in office? It's tougher to be a New York City sanitation man than it is to be a congressman or congresswoman or congressperson. It is mind-boggling. It's embarrassing, folks. You know. So last but not least, as they say, the old cliche is the barmaid or bartender. You know, right here in Queens in the Bronx. They call her AOC. They gave her a nickname. She became popular, by the way, folks. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She did do something. She knocked out the head of the Democratic Party, who was a congressman there for like 29 years. She upset Joe Crowley. She knocked out in the primary, so a fellow Democrat. People were shocked, you know, but somebody fell asleep, you know, at the wheel. She knocked out. By the way, he was there as a congressman around the time she was born. And when he first became a congressman, would he think, hey, there's somebody being born right now that's going to preach hatred, is going to take my seat? And she did. Could you imagine what one of the things she said? And then she backtracked. In a statement, she said, the military is getting paid too much. It's sad. It's very sad. The average United States soldier salary is about $41,500 a year. You want to go to Iraq for $41,000 a year, folks? Would you want to go there for $41,000 a day? You know, to go put a gun on and a rifle and go to Iraq, you know, or any other of these countries? They're getting paid too much. Mind-boggling. You know what her salary is starting as a freshman congressman? Starting $174,000 a year. That's pretty good. You know, from bartender or barmaid to $140,000. My God. By the way, the minority leaders and the majority leaders in the parties, they get an average of $20,000 more a year. Now, that's just talking about their salary. You're not talking about their credit card, their cell phone, their expenses, and they have a car. And our military is getting paid too much. What do we do? You know what the most embarrassing thing was? They had hearings in the Capitol in regard to this immigration status that's going on, and there's the head of ICE, that's Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement, Tom Hannon. He's there 30 years. He was, by the way, before he was in charge of ICE, he was a policeman. He was a policeman before she was born. She meaning, my God, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Did you see her interrogating him? Wasn't that the most embarrassing thing in the world, to watch a bartender, a barmaid, no law enforcement background at all? And even if she did, you know, she is cross-examining the head of ICE, Immigration, Customs, and Enforcement. Doesn't that bother you, folks? She's questioning him. She just got there. And how did she get in that position? How did they let her? Who the hell is she to really, you know, again, it's just, these are the four, people are calling, I call them the four races. People call them the four fakes. They call them the four frauds. They called everything. These are the people running Congress. They're knocking out the Democratic Party. They are Democrats, folks. They're going to knock out their own party. And it may be a socialist radical Muslim party if this keeps up. It's just, again, it was very embarrassing that she is cross-examining. I don't know why he sat there. Of course, he was angry. And you know what ICE does? One of the main functions of ICE, people, immigration, customs, and enforcement, they're the ones that go after and they stop child sex traffickers and drug smugglers. That's their main function. And there was a move to get rid of the Border Patrol and ICE. What does that tell you? People don't realize their primary goal and their job description, or one of their main purposes as being part of ICE, is to go after child sex traffickers and drug smugglers. Do you think the Democrats put her up to that? Because, hey, a lot of Democrats, including a lot of actors, are getting involved in teenage minor, I should say, worst, sex traffickers. Think about it. Could that be the reason why? They just connected actor Bob De Niro to one of these people that were transporting children for the purpose of what. He's just one of them names that were thrown out there. So it's could that be the reason why they want to get rid of them? Because they're getting too close to home. Think about it, So, and we got Epstein, the multi-millionaire that was pretty much arrested for sex trafficking of children, underage children, and I got a kick out of this when they connected him with Donald Trump. The guy is a billionaire. Donald Trump's a billionaire. Billionaires get together. They were going to make an issue about Donald Trump being on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet going to Florida, where they both have these homes. Donald Trump was with him on the flight 20 years ago, I think it is, or 15 years ago. You know why they stopped, folks? When they realized that Donald Trump once was in Jeffrey Epstein's plane, because Bill Clinton was on it 23 times, right? Now, Donald Trump could say, hey, we're both going to Florida together. Our homes are next to each other. And, billionaires hang out with fellow billionaires. Before Bill Clinton was a multi-millionaire, I don't know if he's a billionaire, why was he on Jeffrey, oh my God, why was he on his plane, Epstein's plane, 23 times, right? Maybe his answer will be, if you question him, if you have the opportunity to question him, I never had sex with that woman. That might be his answer to you. But they stopped that. They thought they had something with Donald Trump, and they went further, that Bill Clinton was on there 23 times. 516-945-9099. This is Lou Telano. If you want to you want to correct me, threaten me, yell at me, or make a statement, or ask me a question, I'd be glad to. But it just bugs me what's going on with these four people called the Squad. Just want to jump back again to Jeffrey Epstein, who, according to what the newspapers, they found him unconscious in his cell, and his cellmate. Some people want to know, hey, he's supposed to be in solitary confinement. By the way, folks, there is no such thing as solitary confinement. There hasn't been solitary confinement probably since the 50s. No such thing. It's called administrative segregation. You're just in a regular cell. You just don't have the privileges, like going out of your cell to play ping pong and watch a movie. You go out of your cell 1 hour a day. That's administrative interrogation. I know by the way, his cellmate was an ex-cop, a rogue ex-bad cop who was with him, who they probably put him in there for a reason with this, By the way, his cellmate, the ex-cop, was an ex-powerlifter, big, strong guy, and they felt he'd be safe, and they found him unconscious, and they think it was attempted suicide. You know what some people saying? Some people are saying that. Here we go again with Hillary Clinton. Anybody connected to the Clintons, something seems tragically to happen to them. They seem to commit suicide. So that's a thought, and but there is a connection, of course, with the Clintons and him, with Bill being on his plane 23 times. My thought on the guy has no choice because Jeffrey Epstein has no choice. Of course, he's going to do a lot of time with everything no matter, and he's a multi-billionaire. And you know what? I think it's tough for him to escape jail, but if no matter how much money, if they do said bail, he's going to skip. He has to skip, and they know it. So there is no bail because he can afford $1 billion bail, and that's chump change for him. He's got his own island. He's got citizenship in a couple of countries, and they can go to a country that has no extradition to bring him back. So, but I think maybe that was his way to be sent to a hospital, because your chances of escaping from a hospital are a lot easier than they are from a jail. So maybe in the hospital environment, he might have a plan, to try to escape, because, from experience, bringing prisoners or dealing with prisoners in a hospital, the doctors don't want to know what the charge is, and they couldn't care less. And I can understand. Speaking of ethics, they have a code of ethics also. To them, he is a patient. So we would bring in murderers, sex offenders into a hospital, and the doctors used to say, take the handcuffs off him. And they wouldn't listen to you. Say, hey, wait a minute, he just killed a child, and we got to, nope, he's my patient. That's their code of ethics. So they're a lot looser, and it's up to you. You could say as a police officer, no, he's my prisoner. I refuse to take the handcuffs off. And then they tell you, then you're going to be in trouble, because I can't, if those handcuffs are a hamper and it results in his death, officer or detective, you're going to be accountable or responsible. So I once had to stand in an operating room, by the way, and they told me I couldn't bring my gun in there, but I brought my gun in there, I mean, obviously, he was, I think, and I shouldn't say that was positive. He was no threat, but you just don't lock your gun up, You just, it's part of you. When I was a detective at the time, I stood in the I had to wear the whole gear, the whole thing, and I had to stand in the corner. Of course, they says, I'm not leaving him, call the cops, but that was that. So I am a little suspicious about this attempt suicide, with Epstein. Phone number here is 516-945-9099. If you have a statement, or if you want to say something again, I just want to remind you who my guest is next Saturday. Let me just find my paperwork. And he's pretty well known. He does a nice talk show, and Howie Carr. How could I forget Howie Carr? I watch him almost every other night on. I'm trying to think. Next Newsmax, by the way. Most of the channels is like on my channel. It's 102. He's my guest this coming Saturday at 4:00. If you're out of the area, out of the Long Island area, you could watch it on AM 1240 WGBB.com. So if you want to watch this guy, he's great. I got to get him over here to this. Speaking of great, this great station there, Strong Island TV, which I think I found a second home, or maybe first home here. Just the environment and everything is pretty much great here. If you want to call in, 945, that's 516, of course, 945 9099. But again, election is 220. It's around the corner. You have people like the four that I'm talking about. We cannot keep them in office. We're really in bad shape. The things that are happening at the border, if you recall, Nancy Pelosi, and by the way, these four said, Donald, it's a figment of your imagination. It's orchestrated by Donald Trump. But if these congresswomen travel the streets not too far from where they live, they're going to see these people that are living in tents, living in like little makeshift huts. And, it's also becoming a health hazard, by the way, because what's happening, their waste, the human waste, is going into the sewers and it's going into our water system. And for the first time, California, I can't think, in LA, but I can't think of this particular beach, they found a high bacteria rate of human waste. Where's it coming from? It's going into our water system. I really, it's just mind-boggling. Somebody call me, please, and tell me, why is this going on? Why are we permitting this to happen in the United States of America? We're opening the door for anybody to come into this country, and we're not taking care of our own American citizens. I have family in California, and they say it's very sad. Little children, they have in the tent, or these makeshift huts, they have cribs. Isn't that mind-boggling, folks? I mean, this is the United States of America. And what does Congress want to do? Impeach Donald Trump. Impeach Donald Trump. They're going to do this up until the election. This is why they're going to get their ass kicked, because we are not stupid like they really think we are. We got to have a whole change in Congress. We're hanging in there in the Senate, but we need more strength in the United States Senate as well. We got to get good people in there where there's inner fighting now with Nancy Pelosi, the head of the majority leader, congressional majority leader, and people like these four, and Nancy Pelosi's giving in. She's actually giving in to them. So the ideology that's spreading is socialist, by the way, and anti-American in our own Congress, right here representing us, folks. They're preaching hatred, and they're actually infiltrating us, infiltrating the United States Congress. Think about that, folks. I just found out recently, I don't want to mention where I live, but some people do know. In the district I live in, that there's about 8 or 9 different towns. And I'm going to say this. I don't know if he's a radical, but it's a Muslim that they didn't show his face when he was running for New York State Senate, but he won. He beat, again, like Crowley, he beat a 29-and-a-half-year New York State Senator. So what can I tell you? Folks, wake up, try to realize what's going on around you. Think about what's happening in Congress. Think about what's happening in America. Think about what's happening throughout the country and the world, because it is affecting us, because we are the big daddy, United States of America. And I got to say this, 220, we gotta get Donald Trump back in. And, my organization, New York Veteran Police, if you're interested in being involved with us, 516-378-5200. 516-378-5200. You know, you don't have to be in law enforcement. You could be an associate or support member of the New York Veteran Police. And I could tell you right now, we were the first to endorse Donald Trump. So you know where we stand. I think I got a cut out now. So I'm gonna be leaving you folks. So this is Lou Telano. I'll be back next week. Thanks for listening to Streetwise, and I'll catch you later.